Hello, Helena. I'm Emily McVeigh, the Executive Director of the United Way of the Lewis and Clark area. And you're here with us on the United Way Partner Spotlight. Today we have Renee and Joe from Family Promise. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Tell me about Family Promise. What is Family Promise? What do you guys do?
Well, I am Renee Bauer, and I'm the Executive Director of Family Promise. And Family Promise provides shelter to children and their families who are homeless. We do that in a number of different ways. We do emergency temporary shelter. We have a rotational shelter program in partnership with all of our member churches who are our supporters. And so the folks will spend the night at a church, and then they utilize our day center during the day. We help them, we have a lot of programming. We help them with job skills and seeking a job. We work with them on education, get the kids enrolled in school, and partner with all the other agencies in town to get them services that they need with the goal of finding them permanent and stable housing.
Great. And you serve 3 families at a time, and the day center is small. We were chatting about that. You guys are a little bit on top of each other. What is the day center? What do you use it for?
So the day center is where the families can come during the day, and we have a little area where they use a computer for job seeking, and they hang out. They do laundry there. We have 2 full restrooms, so they bathe. We have a full kitchen, and so they eat their meals there. It's kind of their headquarters. They use that facility for their mailing address until they get into permanent housing, and just about anything a family needs. It's got a living area, kitchen, dining area, TV, and tons of toys and entertainment for little ones. So it becomes their temporary home.
What would it take for you guys to be able to serve more than 3 families at a time?
I'm going to defer that to Joe.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're in a unique situation right now where obviously the demand is much greater than what we can provide. And so I think there's always been a demand here in Helena, and Family Promise has done an amazing job of meeting that for families and our guests. But obviously everything that's happened over the last few years has really amplified that. And so the interesting challenge we're running into now even is that we have folks who are ready to graduate the program, but we aren't able to find, housing that's affordable enough for them to get into. And so I think that question is fascinating in a number of areas, because I think there's a few things coming up with some type of a transitional situation, so we could have folks who have graduated but aren't quite in a position, or we haven't found a place that they could move into. That would be helpful. And then, just a bigger space. We're in a weird kind of chicken or an egg situation, we call it, because, clearly the demand is there and folks need help, and we want to help them, but we don't have the space to help, and so we need some more space. But our staff and our team, Renee's team, is already kind of maxed serving the families we have, and so we need to hire some more folks. And so how do you hire people when we don't have a place to put them? And so we're in kind of a unique challenge, right? We have a unique set of challenges in front of us right now, but Renee and the team are just doing an amazing job serving the families that we have right now, and I'm certain that we'll figure it out. But yeah, we need some more space, and we're always working on that. So if you know anything, you let us know.
Well, we're always working on those kinds of things at United Way, so definitely be at the table with us while we're, and with your, the Invest in Helena meeting, and figuring out all the layers that Helena needs to bring about to create that level of affordable housing, transitional housing, moving their way up and out, and all those. Yeah, so definitely lots of conversations going on there. Yeah. We'll keep that going. But what is transitional housing? Explain that to the viewers so they know what that means, and why is it so important?
You want to take that one, or you want me to?
I will let you.
So obviously we have our program, right? And so Renee talked about that. So we work with financial literacy and helping folks get a job, get themselves back on track, help the kids at school and all that kind of stuff. So once you get through the program, if there's not a place that's available for you yet, so you've graduated the program, but we don't have you into a permanent home for yourself and your family moving forward, we have to come up with some place in the meantime for you to go for a number of reasons. For one, you've graduated the program and you're ready to move along. For two, we have a list of people who have been approved to get into the program that haven't been able to get in yet because there's not room for them. And so it's this weird kind of, it's almost like a bottleneck that happens if we don't have that transitional housing to help folks kind of take that next step since they've graduated the program but don't quite have a place to go yet. And so once again, I mean, these challenges are so interconnected that it's hard to really nail down or prioritize what is the most important thing and what order do we do them in. But I tell you what, if we can't figure out some strategies with that transitional housing, we're going to continue to have that bottlenecking that's happening. And that's a challenge to work through. So
what kind of help do you need from the community to create transitional living? Or like, what are your big dreams, your big goals for Family Promise?
Renee?
Our dreams and hopes
He's a
are
dreamer.
huge.
Good.
Since the onset of COVID, we have had wait lists anywhere between 7 and 14 families consistently. That's 7 to 14 families every single day who are homeless, waiting to get into a shelter. So immediate priority is we need temporary emergency shelter to get those folks under safe roof, especially the children. And then I think if we get the emergency shelter facilities figured out, then I think the rest of it starts to fall in place pretty easily. But I would say that really is our key immediate need, just because without it, we've got today that we know of, just our organization, 14 folks either living in a tent or their car with their children in this community. And we all know in Helena that we have a huge homeless population that has really grown in the last 24 months. But to have children without roof, it should be disturbing to every single one of us. We should be working aggressively to make sure that those kiddos have a safe roof over their head, so that they can have stability and thrive. So I would say our immediate first need that we would address would really be that expanded shelter type of space. From then the transitional housing, anybody who's out there who has a home who would be willing to rent it, or we can look at a lot of different models on how to develop that type of environment for people. Ideally, one would go, once they graduate our program, into a transitional home environment for 6 to 9 months, and then cycle into their permanent housing.
Yeah, and I will say, if anybody's interested in that, you can look back at the United Way Point in Time Survey HCTV video, where we talk about doing the Point in Time Survey every January, but the kids aren't counted. They just get missed because oftentimes they're couch surfing with family members or those kinds of things, and then they don't meet the HUD criteria for homelessness. The school district does a great job of keeping track of that number, and the number for Helena is usually around 400 homeless children in the school district. That is a huge number, and it just is not a number that gets seen publicly very often. So keep putting that out there, that it's a very big need in our community.
And if I could jump in on that note, that's actually why I'm involved with Family Promise, actually. I'm a local State Farm agent here. One of my customers, her name's Mary. She's been like the Family Promise hero, I would call her, for a lot of years. And so we got to visiting when she was in my office, and I shared my story with her because I had experienced homelessness as a kid. And I shared my story with her, and she told me about Family Promise, and that's why I was just so impressed that that's the type of work that that you folks were doing here in town. I want to be a part of it. And so, but it is critically important to help young families, especially the children, because when you have food insecurity, when you don't know, you literally don't know where you're going to spend the next night. Your family's just riddled with uncertainty and anxiety, and that impacts you for decades and years to come. I mean, I've been so fortunate and have a great life, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I do counseling and I work through stuff because there's a lot of stuff from being a kid without your basic needs met that really can affect your success long term. And so, we want to treat people with dignity and respect and help people understand that they're worth it still. They're worth fighting for and believing in. And I think people will be shocked to find out that we have that many kids in Helena that don't know where they're staying tonight. I mean that is scary. And so whatever we can do to help those families and those kids is well worth any of the work that we can do to do that. So I'm proud to be a part of that. And I think the really interesting thing about, there's a huge stigma around homelessness, and our situation, it wasn't like there were, it was drugs and alcohol and whatnot. Like my dad just, and my mom, it didn't work out and he left and he was a breadwinner. And so we were evicted and all that kind of stuff. And so it was literally a situation where it happened overnight. And so how many of those folks out there, if they had a little bit of help, not a hand out, but a hand up to help them and someone to believe in them and care about them and say, hey, you're worth fighting for, keep believing, keep showing up for yourself. That's a message worth sharing. And I feel like there are people out there in our community who have property that they don't know what to do with, or maybe there's an opportunity to be involved in a philanthropic way, that we would love to hear from you. If you have something and you're open-minded and you want to, use your property or whatever to make a difference in the community, even if we don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet, talk to us and we'll work through it and try to figure it out, because these families are worth fighting for. So.
Absolutely. Do you have any more, you're a success story, but do you have any more success stories that you want to share about your families from Family Promise?
I think Holly has a good story. Would you want to share Holly's story, or?
Perhaps. We've got a very young family who had a little guy. They came into our program and she was about 8 months pregnant. And they had their little guy, and they were in our program for about 3 months, and we were lucky with them that we managed to get them into housing that quickly. Mm-hmm. So in this time that we're in right now, 3 months is a very fast turnaround. They're thriving. They haven't missed a beat with this newborn baby. He was a little bit early, so he was teeny tiny when we got him into our house, and these two parents are remarkable in what they've done, and they just had this hiccup that put them in a homeless position with a soon-to-be newborn, and then newborn, and they were just so much fun because they're wonderful parents, and their little guy is one of our poster children because he's just so funny and so cute, and they take wonderful care of him. So that is one of our really fun successes. A couple of our other fun successes stem from our prevention and diversion program. We saw the need last year to try and help folks who are right at the edge, very vulnerable. If we can keep them housed in the place that they're at, we think it's a huge cost savings, not to mention the emotional turmoil and the wear and tear on all of us. So we started a prevention diversion program, and we've had a couple of folks who have been just hilarious, who we've helped stabilize. One of them was a guy who had a 5-year-old child who had an emergency appendectomy, and he was not real familiar with healthcare and the healthcare system, so he got these hospital bills. So he would work really hard on paying these hospital bills as fast as he got them. They got behind on his rent, and he came to us and was overwhelmed and mortified, and we helped him get caught up on his rent and told him how to work with those hospital bills to make them a budgetable item so he wouldn't be in this predicament again. And they're thriving, but they were a breath away from being homeless over just a tragic health event.
And trying to do the right thing.
And trying to do,
Exactly.
trying to do the right thing. Our second one from that program was a family, Dad got a nice pay raise, so he took a new job with this pay increase, but it was 20 miles further from his house. And he hadn't budgeted for that extra gas money that first month of the new job. So about the third week of the new job, he hadn't been paid yet and he was out of money. And he was going to be short on his rent. So we worked with him on some budgeting skills. We got that figured out, helped him with some gas money for that last week, and he figured out then how to budget for that extra gas that it was going to cost him. Now, I don't know what he's doing now that it's $4 a gallon, but it was funny because financially the family was going to be much better off with the pay raise, but the immediate ability to get the pay raise and make things work wasn't there. So we helped him out, doing great.
Great.
Yeah, and I think that's in my industry, we help people with their money and financial literacy all the time. And we talked today about how many people are homeless right now. There is a scary amount of people, one paycheck, one tank of gas away from being faced with that situation. And so I am just totally impressed with Renee and her team on how they've been able to work through just keeping people from becoming homeless. Because once you're in that position, getting yourselves out of it is much, much more challenging than avoiding, that situation in the first place, if we can.
Absolutely.
So really cool.
Yeah. So how would people get a hold of you guys at Family Promise if they were interested in helping out or volunteering or donating or?
Just give me a call and
Okay. Call Joe.
Call Emily.
call Emily.
Call
She'll
United
get
Way.
you
We
set
will
up.
get you hooked up.
They will point you towards us.
All right.
I mean, I have some contact information right
Yeah,
here.
yeah, go
Director at FamilyPromiseHelena.org, and the phone number is 406-465-9467. So,
Great.
And I mean, I am right here in Helena as well, and so feel free to give my office a call or stop by. We would love any of the help that we could get from the community, and we know there are a ton of really great nonprofits and great causes in our community, and we just hope to be considered when people are thinking about maybe getting involved or wanting to make some type of a contribution to the community. So we'd love that. If you have space, I mean, if you have property, that would help us right now. But
Right.
we'd love to talk with you. So thanks for having us.
Great. Yes. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Helena, for listening to our Family Promise Partner Spotlight, and we'll see you again next week.